So today we have a great thing that I've always wanted to do since I started this podcast 12 weeks ago. And it's actually somebody I met online, and it's part of my favorite radio show because I'm probably the only person in my age group that listens to the AM Sports Talk Radio at 6 a.m. Mr. Ben Fletcher. How are you, Ben?
What's going on, Tony? How you doing?
I'm good, man. I think I told you a while back that I've been wanting to do a project like this back in the DMs, just talking about a little bit. It was a Christmas day back in 2018. And I said, hey, I think you were asking for questions for Judson, your co-host. And
Yeah.
just said, hey, like what's after what or whatnot? Is there ever going to be a podcast? And you just said, oh yeah. And then, that's actually how I got my start. And we just started hitting it off right then and there. I always try to make it an effort to make friends with the producer of the morning radio segments. I guess you could say I'm a fan of that specific 3-hour show. I listen to everybody. But I don't know, there's something about that morning. And I feel like once you came in too, it just took on a life of its own. So you want to tell the people a little bit about yourself? Where did you come from? I guess. You're not from San Diego, are you?
I'm not, so not a local, but Merced, California is a small little town 45 minutes north of Fresno, and then went to Cal Poly for school, Cal Poly SLO, and that's where the start of journalism kind of came in. And I did about a year of news journalism and realized I really, really hated it. And I immediately switched over to sports. There was a couple guys in my major who were working on, called it Mustang TV, and we did all the sports content for it. And then from that, an internship started at an ESPN station in SLO. We were the Cal Poly flagship. And that was where I was making zero money, trading work for studio time to record a podcast with this guy called The Clutch. Alex Klepper was my co-host, and then I was Fletch, and Clutch happened. And it was so bad. It was maybe the worst 45 minutes of any radio you'd ever. None of us really had experience. We didn't have a producer. It was just the two of us. And he wanted all he wanted to talk about was UFC and fights. All I wanted to talk about was the NFL. And we just, I loved it. Had so much fun doing it. Mark Willard was our first guest on it, and it was that segment was so good.
Uh-huh.
And then everything else we did was such crap. But that's where it all started, and that's kind of what I told you. I was like, well, the first step is just do something, and don't care if it's terrible. And look at you knocked it out of the park your first try. So.
Oh, definitely, man. And has it always been part of your, being just wanted to be involved in sports? Is it something you always wanted to do? Maybe play as a kid? We always had that dream of being a professional athlete at some point. Was that your avenue, and then ended up here, or where did your love of sports come from, man?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've always had this memory. My grandpa was a big sports fan, Florida Gator fan. And he was like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, professional hitter. I didn't care about defense in baseball. I just wanted to be a hitter. Come to realize my favorite team is San Francisco Giants. You don't have the DH. So that crushed that dream. And then the fact that I'm slow, white, not athletic, and can't really do much sports-wise. I played through high school. I could have played basketball at a JC, but I chose the beach instead, and I don't regret that choice at all because it ended up leading me into sports journalism, which is maybe the next best thing. And I love my job now.
No, definitely. And I've told you many times that, you're living the dream, just being around so many athletes sometimes, being on the other end of a phone, answering the phone for athletes' personalities. I can distinctly remember one day that I said, you know what, this is cool. Like he's doing something awesome. I think you were talking about how you had Al Michaels' contact information now, and just you're forever going to have that. Obviously, you're not going to call him out, hey, let's go out for a drink here and there. You might, I don't know, but that's just so cool. Who else, if you want to just name drop, in your phone book or contact list, would you say can match the pedigree or be close to Al Michaels? I think that's pretty up there.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, the coolest phone number I have, not that he's ever answered, and there's two of them, is Joe Montana and Jerry Rice. I have both their numbers.
Wow.
Neither has ever answered a text. That's the hardest part about being a producer is you get all these cool numbers and you're like, oh man, this guy's gonna come on the show. And then you text him and then you just see red this time, never responded. Never three bubbles pop up, never anything. But like honestly, we were trying to figure this out. There was a lady on ESPN who did a Zoom chat during all this,
Hmm.
and her challenge was to get the most famous person you know to join the Zoom.
Hmm.
And so Judd and I were kind of thinking, Judson, my host at Extra, and we were sort of trying to think who would be the most famous person we could just send something to and they'd jump on.
Hmm.
And then we were like kind of going through. He had a couple names, like I think he said Pablo Sandoval, and I'm like, yeah, right.
Well,
I
I'll
just kept, and I don't know if that's true. I mean, they probably could. Judson used to buy beer for him when he was underage, but then my first thought was, oh, Adam Rank. You know, we've had him on the show quite a bit, NFL
yeah.
Network guy, and it is cool being able to like kind of know these relationships and get to meet these people. Like Kurt Warner and Al Michaels are the two that will always stand out to me. Like I'm 24 years old and I got to meet two people who I grew up watching, and Al Michaels I still watch every day. And so yeah, that's definitely the biggest perk of this job. But I think the story you were talking about with Al Michaels is when Al called into the radio station, he was 3 minutes early, and I had no idea what to do. I'm like, oh well, Al, sorry, we still have 3 minutes of this break left. You want me to call you back? He's like, oh no, I'll just talk to you. And I was like, oh, what? Okay, so I got to fill 3 minutes of time with Al Michaels on the phone.
Wow.
And he was great. He kind of asked me about myself, and I'm like, here I am talking about myself to Al Michaels. And it was just such a surreal experience. I still can't believe that happened.
Wow. That's crazy. To even have, I've had that actually with same thing with Jace Tingler when I met him not too long ago at the
Oh,
Fletcher
yeah.
meet.
You know Chase better than we do.
Yeah, he's my best friend. I have like 5 best friends that I've met like twice, that are professional athletes. But no, like I met him, and obviously I was just there incognito, and I didn't want anybody to even know that I wasn't supposed to be there. So I'm like, I'm not gonna ask for pictures. I'm not gonna ask for anything. And so my thing was like, if I do meet Jay Stingler, I'm just gonna say, hey, thank you for coming down. Love what you're doing. Welcome. uh, good luck with Spanish and this and that. And even I told them in Spanish too, hey, the people here are gonna love you because of this and that. That's it, right? Like quick. And then that happened and everything, and he just turns to me, he's like, oh, you you speak really good English and really good Spanish. How did you learn English? How did you learn Spanish? And I was just like, yeah, the words and Eminem and rapping and yeah, it was great. If you, yeah. And
Did you get him some Mexican singers so he could start listening and learn the language?
that's what I told him. And I told him if you ever need lessons, let me know. I kind of messed up that day. I kind of fucked up. I should have said, hey, you have a job? Can I get you my resume? Can I do this? Is there anything you need, a driver or something? It didn't pop up in that moment, but no, like I completely understand that, just being like, oh, like you're asking about me.
Yeah,
That's
it's kind of crazy when you realize they're just people too. You
yeah.
know, that it's like they also were like Al Michaels was super insecure about coming on our show because he
Oh
has
wow,
this
yeah.
like respect for Nick because that was when it was still Nick and Judson, and he had talked to Nick for like an hour on the phone the day before, I guess, because he was doing a Chargers game coming up that weekend. And then he called into me. He's like, "So what? He doesn't do that much radio. So he was like, what are we gonna talk about here? Like, what exactly do you guys want to know?" And we're like, "Well, I mean, really, you are the gold standard here in broadcasting." And he's like, "Oh no, I'm not." And I was like, we really just want to know how you do what you do, and if we can get some cool stories. I know Judson's gonna bring up the Miracle on Ice, and like sure enough, we bring him in with his call of Miracle on Ice, and he gets all sheepish about that. But that was, yeah, it's so funny when you start talking to these people and you realize they're just as interested in you for the most part.
Yeah.
There are assholes out
Oh, definitely.
there. Won't say any names, but yeah, it was really a kind of cool experience to know that that wall is not as thick as you think it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's part of the reason why, I feel like I'm pretty good at what I've been doing. It's just kind of being where I'm not supposed to be, type of thing. Again, incognitoing my way into things.
It's
Because again,
not supposed
most
to be
people,
there. It's that you didn't know you could be there.
yeah,
Turns out there's a lot more access than you think.
Yeah, exactly. And then just, just being nice to people and a smile and just understanding that sometimes they got to go somewhere. They got to do this. Just, hey, how's it going? Thank you. And that's it. That's all you're getting. Um, but have there ever been a time where, or somebody that you almost were supposed to get and just hilariously, just chaotically just fell through or just didn't show up?
Dude, yes, there was a New York radio personality we were going after to get on. And with the time difference, this was when I was first starting out. And Nick kind of just gave me this number and he was like, hey, can you text this guy, see if he'll come on? And so I texted him and he was like, yeah, of course, let's do it. And then 2.5 hours later, like 7 o'clock our time,
Mhm.
I didn't put it together, 10 o'clock their time. I texted him. I was like, "Oh, hey, can we actually move you up 10 minutes or like whatever it was?" It was like moving from the 8:30 to 7:30. And he texted back. He said, "What the fuck are you doing? I put my kids to bed. I just leaned over to go to sleep, and my phone starts going off. Like, why are you texting me this late?" And I was like, "Oh my
Oh,
god!" And so long story short, he didn't come on. But
wow.
it's weird. Like, you kind of got to think about stuff like that, and it's not something that I ever thought about. And then and so like I texted the guys. I was like, "Yeah, he's not coming on anymore." They're like, "What happened?" I was like, "Oh, something just fell through." It's weird. Like now, I'd be scared enough to just tell him, and it'd be a funny bit on the show. It'd be like, "Yeah, I texted him, and it was too late," and he told me to fuck off. But
Yeah.
you learn.
No, definitely. And I've again, I'm a long time listener, first time caller. No, but listen to a lot of you guys in the morning, and I can definitely see how you grew into your own, especially in the this second part where Mike Costa came in, and I can notice that you were given a little bit more mic time, and maybe not even given, just you had it a couple times where it would just be you and Judd or you and Mike, and so you can really tell that it's not your first rodeo being in front of a mic. Sometimes I can tell that some people are good at their job, but are a little mic shy or maybe aren't even as interesting on the mic. But um, was there ever one time where you thought it was all over, where you went cold, you didn't hit a button that you should have, or hit a button you shouldn't have, or has that happened to you yet?
That still happens every week. I screw up some open or something. Like I'm sure you know. Like the biggest thing to think about is a lot of times the people listening, unless they're hardcore listeners like yourself or like Peter Salas,
Shout out.
have no idea that something went wrong, and it's just how you recover out of it. And in reality, it's a 2-second gaffe, and then after that, it's fine. But when I was at my first ESPN station, and the bosses here in San Diego have been so great, kind of trusting me and telling me like, look, this is morning radio. Screw ups are funny,
Yeah.
but don't screw it up too much. And but at ESPN, my boss was not as cool. And it was like my third or fourth time going live doing an update in the middle of a sports game, a football game for Cal Poly. And I had the sponsor read, and then the last second, my computer just went down. And I had to fill 3 minutes, and we didn't have PSAs or anything like we do now with extra. And so I just talked for 3 minutes, and I didn't have scores, I didn't have anything. And so in reality, there was probably a 15-second just total silence. And I thought I was done. I called my boss. I was like, dude, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so sorry. And then here in San Diego, there was one time I slept through all my alarms. Still couldn't tell you what happened, but I ended up being 15 minutes late to the show.
Yeah.
And luckily, there was someone there who knew how to run the board enough to get us on air. And Judson and Mike just talked. But same thing. I woke up and I was like, looked at my phone. I was in disbelief. First of all, it was 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And I was like, this isn't real. My phone's messed up. Like, this isn't the real time. And then I quickly called my boss and I was like, I woke him up. I called him and woke him up. And he was like, what's wrong? And I was like, I overslept. I'm so sorry, be long. And he was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I'm not there. And he's like, well, the show's on. I would have gotten a notification. And I was like, I think Mike's handling it. I don't know. And he's like, well, get there. And so I was like, yeah, I know. And then we talked after, and he was like, look, you've been doing this for a year and a half. It happened once. Don't let it happen
Yeah.
again. And I'm like, but I'm always now terrified. Now I have 10 alarms set every morning. So
Yeah, because all nine of them don't work. It's that 10th one that gets you.
yeah, it really is.
So I mean, speaking about your boss currently, I listen to again too much. I listen to intricacies of people I've never met. Um, how did he react to that Super Bowl? Uh, I know he's a Kansas City Chiefs fan, and I was there to witness what should have been one of the best days of your life. That was robbed from you because of Andy Green, and maybe because of your head coach at the Niners. But did you get any crap back at the
Well,
state?
yeah. So Jim Russell, Darren's producer, he and I are both pretty big Niner fans. Like I mean, I'm from Northern California, and that's just always been my team. Who knows about Jim, but he might just be a bandwagon. But that loss killed me, and I will say I was talking so much crap to Brian, my boss, who's a diehard Chiefs fan, the entire week, saying we're gonna roll. Like it's not even gonna be a close game. The first half, I was texting him the whole time, like, "Oh my god!" I was a little drunk. We were at something for Judd.
Yeah.
And I was just texting him. I was like, "Oh my god, we're kicking your ass!" And then, sure enough, Patrick Mahomes just comes back and is awesome. And Brian was so cool about it. He was like, "Look, I'm just gonna be the bigger man. Like, whatever. You know, you lost." And so he was cool about it, but in a way that it was like, I know that you know that I could be ripping you to shreds right now, and that's gonna make it even worse for you. And it was way worse. I would have way rather him just come up and started yelling at me like,
At what point did you know? Oh, crap! Like it's coming. Like it's
dude,
my
it was.
smile's about to get erased.
I mean, obviously, when Jimmy overthrew that throw, my heart broke, and I was like, okay, any other quarterback, and I was already on the Jimmy, get rid of him, and now I'm not. I think Jimmy's our quarterback forever. But um, honestly, it was when Sammy Watkins beat Richard Sherman so bad on that first little 1-2 step, the same exact thing that Devontae Adams did to Richard Sherman 1 week earlier. And I was like, yeah, that's it. Patrick Mahomes just got a fire lit. This game's over. And heartbroken, dude. It was rough, especially we had been in Miami that whole week, really getting ready for the game. Like it was all like we had a bunch of cool guests, whatever. Like everything was hyped up. Every single person we talked to was like, Chiefs are gonna win this game. Every single person we talked to on Radio Row was like, Chiefs are gonna win this game. We had Greg Papa over, and on air he was all Niners because he's the Niners play-by-play guy. Off air, the first thing he said, Chiefs are gonna win this game.
Oh, jeez.
And so I was ready the entire time to be like, no way. All these people are wrong. Niners are still going to win. And they were all right. And you know what? Patrick Mahomes is a genius, and it was a pleasure watching him play. I just wish that somehow the Packers would have beat the Niners, so I wouldn't have had to go through that. We'll be back. I'm not worried.
You really think you're going to be back? Are you guys going to win the division next year? If there is a next year?
Yeah, geez, we haven't even talked about that. But we're not even thinking about if that doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is typically our downtime anyways. So like last year we were kind of going through the same thing, like sort of scrounging for topics. Like we'd be getting into the NBA playoffs now, so we'd have stuff. But really like the end of spring training, the middle of basketball season, going into NBA playoffs, like there's 3 weeks in there where you don't have anything to talk about.
Yeah.
And so like that's your creative time anyways. 3 weeks of that, easy. Like we're looking at 4 or 5 months of that. It's getting tougher every day, but like we're coming up with like today we did a whole Michael Jordan themed show.
Yeah.
And like the cool thing about sports is stuff is still happening. Costa always says it's the greatest reality show in the world, and it's absolutely true. Like we care about these people. We like as a people, not even just sports radio guys. We care about their lives, and the people are the more interesting thing than the game that's actually going on. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we're really looking more at sort of people stories and less at sports stories now.
Yeah.
Which is fun. Like we're having more fun in the morning. Like Costa's being goofy as hell.
Yeah.
It's weird with Judd not there. Like he's there, but he's not there, and it's kind of confusing sometimes. But we're figuring it out. I think you tell me as a listener, how's it sound?
I mean, honestly, I've always found it to be an art and really hard to fill 3 hours daily with, let alone, I mean, 9 hours of programming for the entirety of the station, but just 3 hours daily, fill it with content when there is sports. That's hard enough. Right now, it's even more difficult. But the good thing about sports, another thing is usually you're just moving forward with it. You're looking forward. What's the next game? What's the next score? What's the next topic? What's the next this? Right now, since there is nothing, we have the first time in history, I think, that we can stop and look backwards to everything that's already happened and talk about it actively. And so, excuse me, that's why, the MJ documentary coming out, it's perfect, because we really can't look forward to anything happening anytime soon. So might as well look backwards. And they were already making this despite what this whole pandemic happening. So it was going to be quality regardless. But now it's heightened so much that it's going to be a television, you know, a must-watch
It's
television.
gonna have Sunday Night Football type of ratings, and that's just bonkers for a documentary to have that. I was wondering, how old are you? You're my age, right? Are you
I'm 27.
okay? You're 27, so honestly, you're probably still in the same vein as me here.
Yeah,
Because growing up, I thought that Michael Jordan was part of my childhood, like watching him win those championships and everything.
yeah,
And then I was looking at the dates today, and I knew these dates in the back of my mind, but he was not at all. Like his first championship was in '93,
yeah.
his last one was in '98. Now, I was born in '96,
Mhm.
so there's no way I was watching any of those.
Yeah,
But with ESPN Classic and stuff like that being a big part of my childhood, I've watched every single one of those games
yeah.
at least once, if not twice, three times. So, like, I was talking to Costa today, and I was like, man, like, I'm talking like I know about Michael Jordan. I know nothing. This is going to be the best documentary ever for me. I get to learn what everybody else lived through
Yeah.
in this world. And I'm like, how did I not? Like, it is imprinted in my brain that I lived through all that. It's wild.
No,
But I'm so excited for this Sunday. And we had, I don't know if you were listening this morning, we had the director of that documentary on, and he
yes.
talked about how important it was that this is coming out now and why they made the push to release it earlier. It's because people are like just sitting at home, just all right, what's happening next in sports? Are we just gonna get more bad news, or do we get to watch something fun? And this is, I think it's gonna be really revealing. I think we're gonna learn some stuff about Jordan that people aren't ready for, and like I think MJ said it today, he doesn't think people are gonna like him after the documentary.
Yeah, and that's interesting. And it was brought up later on the herd that why would he be promoting it if he didn't think he would be portrayed in a good light? Because
Mhm.
Jordan does care more about his image than say a Kobe did. And I think he's just kind of prepping stuff for that, and maybe hopefully just looking at the times that we have and just the PG era that we're in, and thinking, "Ooh, no, some of these things are going to come out, going to make me look kind of like an asshole," like you said. And
Yeah, I think a lot of it's gonna be bullying.
yeah,
I think he was like notorious for really breaking people down, and I think we're gonna see a lot of it. I hope that like ESPN's doing the uncensored version. I hope that they really get into it and they show a lot of his reaction now to what he was doing then, and see if he feels any remorse, anything like that. I don't know. Can we go back real quick because we kind of skipped over the shift from where I was Nick and Judson's producer,
yes,
and it was awesome. And
yeah,
that was my first real gig in this industry. I'd done internships. I got paid a little bit earlier, but this was my first like real gig in this industry. And then I thought Nick was the greatest thing on this planet, and I loved producing for him. And then when Brian, my boss, walked in that day and was like, "All right, we're switching things up. Everyone here still has jobs."
mhm.
And I was like, "Oh, okay," because I thought I'd be the first one out the door. And he said everyone still has jobs, but we're switching up the lineup. Costa, I don't know if you remember the
Oh,
week before that, Costa was doing the morning show with Judson and I because Nick was out on vacation.
yeah,
And so I think that was kind of the trial run. Obviously, they did 4 years together before all this, but he said, so Nick is going to move to afternoons. And I was waiting for him to say, Ben, you're going with him.
mhm.
And then that didn't happen. Judson even called me right after. He was like, so are you as devastated as you looked when that happened? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I was totally heartbroken. I was like, oh my God. And then Judd, to his credit, told me, he was like, look, man, I know this might not seem like a great move right now for you. And like, but in reality, this is going to open up so many more doors for you because now we don't have Nick's ability to just talk about stuff and make it automatically interesting to fall back on. And your role is going to grow so much. And it did. And I'm, like you said, I'm talking so much more now on the show. And that it wasn't just me grabbing the mic and doing it. It was people telling me to do it. And then a couple times I've overstepped my boundaries. A couple times they've had to tell me talk more. And now I do feel like Judson Costa and I have way more fun now than I ever did with Nick. And that's nothing to him. That's just, I feel like this is actually our show that the three of us created. And it wasn't me coming into a new show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely, because you came in while Nick and Judd were already having the show with a couple of other producers before you. And yeah, I could totally see that where you're coming into something that somebody else started, and now you started from the beginning. And the thing about that too is, actually spoke to Judd about this, and I love Nick. I love having him on the radio. He has one of the most magnificent NFL brains that you can
Mhm.
ever pick, and just sports in general. Just the what it takes to do that, the grit. And he's super intelligent. And for the mornings, though, sometimes there's a lot of people at 6 a.m. that are barely waking up, and some of the topics that he would talk about and how he would expand on them were super cerebral and super intense and in depth. And I loved it, but I can totally see how in a morning show segment or window it can be like a little heavy. And so that's why I thought, okay, maybe in the afternoon I can totally see that, just breaking down the things, him and uh
John.
yeah, it would totally complement each other, would be great. And I was all for it. And but no, like when you three started this morning show, Costa Richards and you could tell that like the silliness went up. And
Oh yeah, day two there was a joke about pirate hookers and herpes, and it was like, oh well, this is a whole new world now. So, and I mean, still, I think we're just trying to kind of push the envelope to see what we can do.
yeah,
We have a character called Mike Ream on our show, which if you break that up, take what you will for it. But it's like, I mean, there's so much freedom from 6 to 9 a.m. because people aren't tuning in for like what you said, the super in-depth looks.
mhm,
And like we can use Colin Coward as an example. He has Greg Cosell on pretty much every week,
yeah,
and Greg and Nick are made for each other in the sense that they just talk stats and football and how everything affects what. But that's historically one of Colin's worst rated segments.
yeah.
His like highest rated segments are his lists, or his what he did wrong, like Colin right, Colin wrong. Like it's wild to me that people like you and me, the diehard sports fans,
Yeah.
that stuff is so opening, like so huge for us, and we love it so much. But the normal listener, the average person, is not tuning in to hear how Derrick Henry's rush against the 8 zone, what blah blah. They
Exactly.
want to hear fun stuff. They want to hear how Derrick Henry's girlfriend looks in a bikini. They want to hear, it's how's my fantasy football team going to be affected by this? Like,
Yeah.
so it's fun building this show out every day, knowing that we have someone so relatable like Mike, who Costa, if you just listen to him on the radio, you'd think he's 450 pounds, butt ugly, and somehow married to a super hot lady who takes care of him.
Yeah.
First of all, Mike and Meg are the most adorable couple ever. They fit each other perfectly. And Mike's a handsome dude and the sweetest person ever. And then you just think he's some really huge jerk from the radio, but he's
I
not. And so,
I mean, the Maserati doesn't help.
yeah, you're a douchebag.
Yeah.
But
But I have you. I mean, you've been in it, right? Have you ever?
I have.
You will?
I've not driven it. I have been in it a couple times. It's absurdly nice.
Well,
Like it's absurd. Like, it's just ridiculous. He came and picked me up here in it one time because my car was broken down.
mhm.
Shows where the two of us are at in life. And I walked out, and we have the same security guard at our place every night. And I walked out. He said, "I didn't know you had cool friends." I was like, "Well, this is Mike. I don't know if he's cool, but he is my friend. I work with him."
And Mike's more like he's more of a coworker.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Costa called me pregnant this morning. That jerk.
but it's great what you guys have. Like I said, it's a great environment. It's super fun, super lax. And what I'll also like about the show is that you guys listen to the fans so much, because obviously, in that segment, you're not expecting millions of listeners at that time, and there's
Oh, but we get him.
yeah, oh, yeah, at, but there's that core of people that do listen and do contribute, and I don't know if you know this, but this whole pop thing with Costa. Uh,
Hmm.
so that first day, I don't know. I'm pretty sure you remember this. I don't know why I did it, or more than once, the Colin Cowherd impression. It's literally the worst impression that
That's
anyone.
not good.
It's not. No, it's the worst. Um, Again, I don't know where that came from. And so he just ripped me apart that first show he had, because that's how I started it. And then I was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, oh, I think I've had my say for today. And then I don't know what happened. And at the end of the show, I was like, I don't want to tweet because I don't want to have it in my name because I was already on. I'll give somebody else a chance. So I texted on the text line and said, wow, I'm really loving this pop and grandson energy from Fletch and Mike. And boom, from then it just took off. And I was like, oh, I'll never know it was me. But
Yeah,
great.
they've been running for like a year and a half now.
Yeah. And then I feel slightly responsible for both of you getting waxed in areas.
All your fault.
Also my fault. So I mean, I think I'm just a bad omen for the show at this point.
Well, first, the waxing thing is gold. It doesn't hurt as bad as it looks, but it is painful and it does last for a long time. That spot on my leg still does not have that much hair on it, and that it's been almost a year since that happened.
Yeah.
But it's stuff like that. Really, guys, we're not doing the show for the three of us to hear. We're not doing the show even necessarily for you to hear. But having people like you, people like Patrick Allen, people like Peter Salas, our real core group of listeners who do listen to 3 hours every day, having those people being a big part of the show makes everybody feel like they're a big part of the show.
Yeah.
And it's just a really cool way of, like, I mean, numbers will show it. I did my senior project on this stuff, the listener interaction, listener activity, having people actively listening to your show is the best way to build up an audience. And even the people who will never text, never tweet, never call,
Yeah.
like, those people still feel welcome when you are interacting with people. And it's cool, and we love it. Like, that's our favorite part every morning, is when we get funny tweets or like ridiculous stuff. The text line is so much dirtier than will ever come out over air, but believe me, we are dying laughing during commercial breaks looking at that, because there's so many nasty, raunchy jokes and so many people making fun of Mike and calling Jed a douchebag and me lazy or like whatever it is. It's just like, that's our favorite part of the show, is really the interactions we get. And I mean, we wouldn't be doing a show every day if we didn't have people interacting. So it's important for us to kind of make sure that people feel like they can just come in anytime, which is why we do the Feeling a Friday, or people can come in, not right now because of COVID.
Yeah.
But it is really important for it not to be our show, but for it to be the family show.
Yeah, and that family sit-in where you get listeners and fans to go in. The first one I went to is what sealed the deal for this whole thing, just because it was like a kid in a candy store, and like I took a picture and I sent it to my girlfriend. She's like, "That you look the happiest you've ever looked in a while." I was like, "Yeah, it's amazing. Just look at this." Just getting literally from I'm always concerned with lag, not because I necessarily like try to get the prizes and stuff. I just like to have the most up to date stuff. So like on the iHeartRadio app, I've I've done some experiments, and usually it's like 2 to 5 minute delay depending
Right.
on internet. And then even on the radio, I'm just like, how long is that delay? It's just the
8 seconds.
8 seconds, yeah. And just being in the studio, just getting it directly from the tap. I was just sitting there just hoping for an F bomb. It's like, come
So you
on.
could see me jump over to the dump button and scream and shout.
Yeah, and I think you were. Yeah, the first time I went, you were still on crutches that day.
Oh, man. That would have been brutal. But yeah, I've had to, because so there is that 8 second delay, and it took me so long to figure out, well, how do we jump 8 seconds backwards? But really, it's like you hit it, and what's going over the radio just jumps forward. Nothing's going backwards. And so, but it's that 8 seconds. So you got to be careful, because you want to, if you hear an F bomb, you don't want to push it immediately, because what happens if there's another F bomb? Because you immediately go live. So there's this great story about Dennis Rodman, was on the show before I got there, and the guy producing, his name was Mike. Dennis Rodman said an F word, said another one, said something else that shouldn't go on, and then it was like 6 seconds, and Mike dumped it.
Yeah.
And then the first word coming back was, "You motherfucker." And it was just, and so like, boom, immediately. And those things get caught every time. Like, it doesn't matter if you think no one's listening. Someone is somehow reporting it to the FCC. I don't know how it works. But like, we had someone say "dump bucket" on there one time. And that got flagged, and we got an email about it, and I had to go find the MP3 and be like, it was bucket, not bucket.
Oh wow, that's how it
I
works.
don't know who flags them or how it gets caught, but it does.
I see. Again, like super interesting. Even hearing that, that's crazy. That must be stressful. 8 seconds though. Just
Well, thinking about like having to wait, like you hear it, your first instincts immediately go boom, and then but you gotta be like, okay, 1,000, 1,000, and then usually we just dump the person, like hang up on them. But if it's a guest, like a Al Michaels, if he was to say we're not gonna hang up on him, so like I mean he never would, but like you wouldn't think Dennis Rodman would come on radio and just start cursing up a storm, and so it's
I,
just
I just want to imagine like what topic would set off Al Michaels so much to just set him off on a longer than 8 second just foul mouth tirade.
hey, you know what? I don't think your call of the Miracle on Ice was that good. It wasn't that good.
I think the Russians should have won.
Yeah, honestly, I wish the Russians would have won.
But no, I mean, I feel like, you know what, like that for me, for a sports talk radio listener, and it's the perfect show in the mornings for me. I can do stuff with radio. I don't have to sit and watch. And
No.
with the podcast, and this is also gonna be on audio eventually. Um, but there's just so many little differences and intricacies, and I think that you bring that balance to that show because you got somebody who probably watched Babe Ruth play and Mike. You have Judson who is like 90s, just 80s and 90s kid, and then you have your generation, just a good mix of just different points of view because you guys differ on some things, and sometimes think like, what are these dinosaurs thinking? Like, no, Fletch is right. Like, it's correct. Like, yeah,
Thank you.
or or like, because sometimes too, like I'll see the other side of like, how does Fletch not know that movie, or how does he not know the reference? But at the end of the day, like it's just a great balance that you guys have, and it's fun just listening every day. And I mean, honestly, I hear you guys more than I hear my family. So
Oh, you are part of the family. But the biggest thing with that is the like remembering it's not super important to know everything.
yeah,
Like it's almost funnier when people don't know something. It's like so much of our show, it's not a super rigid show. It's very lax. And so much of it, like the funniest moments are when one of us pulls a huge e-brake on it and just stops it in the middle of it. And then I mean, we've had conversations where it's like, okay, if this happens, feelings go out the window. You are allowed to kill whoever does it, and you are allowed to jump all over them. And after the show, we're all still gonna be friends. Before this, like whatever. But if someone messes up on radio, it's important that we acknowledge it, and it's important that we murder the person who did it. And so the other day, what was the Cam Newton thing I said? Like Cam and jamming with Cam in or whatever.
yeah.
It's it ended up being really funny and ended up getting fun listener interaction. People were tweeting in different reality show names. But it's like that was just such a huge I thought it was going to be funny. It was not funny at all. Costa made it funny, and then people were able to jump in and kind of like go after me, and also like kind of keep the show going. It ended up being a cool recurring thing. But in reality, I was mortified when I first said it because as soon as it left my mouth, I was like, "This is the worst joke anyone's ever made." Cameron with it doesn't even run. What am I saying? And then luckily, like Costa jumped in and saved me.
Yeah.
He was like, what the hell are you talking about, man? Like, it makes no sense.
And so you have that extra barrier of you have to click the button. You have to think of what you're going to say, click the button, actively say, I'm going to say this, and then still say it. And then everybody, because Mike and them are just on air, hot mic, but you have to physically do an action to say that. And then you just feel worse because you're like, wow, I went through that effort for that.
I'll be posting a podcast or something on one of the side computers, and I think of something. And it's like there's no filter, just go for it. Oh, this is gonna be hilarious. This is gonna kill, and it falls flat on its face. And that's almost better. Like if I say something funny and they laugh for 2 seconds, it's gone forever. If I say something terrible, at least this is how I justify it. Maybe it sounds horrible for the listeners. I don't know, but I justify it by if I say something terrible and it does land flat, then I'm just the flubby producer who screwed something up, and it's fun. You know, I'm not going to pretend and say that that joke was planned because it wasn't. It was just me.
And there's been so many changes there recently, maybe not recently, but recently with that. Like I said, they were trying to change the lineup, and then you guys had some heavy hitters from another station join you guys with Darren and Marty and Jim. and heavy hitting San Diego sports talk vets. How's that been like? Just being surrounded by you know great talent, on air talent.
It was weird. Like those people. I mean, I'm not gonna say they were our enemies, but we were competing against them every day for so long. So you almost don't even put a face on them. And then when they come over, you realize, oh, Darren's a great dude. Marty's awesome. Like we'd been competing against them for so long, way before I was there, and they had consistently kicked our asses. So it was kind of cool seeing them come in and like a rising like it helps everybody. And like I got to spend a ton of time with Darren and Marty in Miami. They took me out drinking. Let me tell you, people who have a noon to 3 show can drink way harder than someone that has a 6 and 9ish show. And I tried to keep up with them, and it was a huge mistake. But they're great people, and like once you kind of realize, oh, these people just like us, they're awesome, and their show is great. It's doing really well. And Jim has been a cool addition to them, and now Jim's a really good friend of mine. And it's like it's kind of cool when things like that happen. You sort of take the face off someone, and you realize, oh, this is just good. This is helpful for everyone. And so I'm super glad Darren and Marty are part of our team, and I'm glad no one lost their job. Like that was the biggest thing. Like
Yeah.
bringing someone in like that. Nick was kind of ready to take a lesser role. He was doing TV stuff. Obviously now he's moved.
Mm-hmm.
And so Nick was kind of fine just doing that third hour on Mondays and Fridays, which he absolutely kills it in. Might be his best setup so far.
Yeah. Yeah.
That hour is so much fun for me because I just get to be a fan because I can't talk if I wanted to. There's too many people.
Yeah.
But then John ended up fitting right in with the loose cannons, and John Schaefer, I think I've said this a lot. John Schaefer is the most talented person at Extra.
Yeah. Super underrated, man. Super
underrated, and he is going to be whatever he does next. I hope he stays with us forever, but that guy is far none. Like I record a podcast with him once a week,
Mm-hmm.
and I just sit back and I'm like, oh my God, you are so much smarter than everyone. But John has fit in perfectly with the Cannons, and he kind of takes that lead role with them because Steve and Rich are both so over the top, like
So alpha. They're both.
yeah, exactly. And then John just kind of slides in. And you're like, oh, this guy's clearly has the best head on his shoulders of anyone at this station, even though he's a vegan, which is so weird.
Yeah, I've heard, and I've heard that. I mean, just vegan. I have my sister's vegan, and they're just different people. Like they're
John like eats sticks. I don't even know what he does.
Yeah, no, they graze. I think vegans graze like cattle. Um, but no, and how about now? I mean, is there like friendly competition between shows? Like how does that dynamic work as far as obviously you guys are all on the same boat, same page, trying to get the station moving forward and stuff. But is there ever any just like, hey, like, we've been kicking ass here in the morning and afternoons, you guys didn't get that many texts on the text line I checked.
So it's funny, like before all this quarantine and all the hosts were in different spots, like right now we're not allowed to have more than one person in the same room. So before all that, like we were trying to do a ton of stuff between the shows. Like Darren and Marty are really good about taking sound bites that we have in the morning from our guests and reutilizing them and pushing back to our website. And we kind of all try to help each other out like that. But before everyone started getting quarantined, we were doing that XFL competition.
Oh, yes.
And there were some stakes on it. Like there was going to be a dinner cooked. And I think my team ended up losing because the Dragons sucked. Seattle screwed us.
What you're doing with that.
But yeah, so like stuff like that's super fun, and anything we can do, like if there's a look ahead from the Cannons that's wrong or Rich says something dumb, like of course we're gonna play it and we're gonna make fun of them. But it's cool being a part of a station that all three shows have respect for each other. Like my boss has said he's never worked in an environment like Extra where there's no one that has beef with anyone except for me and Judson, but whatever.
Yeah.
And that like the whole and all of us with Jim Russell, he sucks. But it's like it's cool being a part of something. Like I talked to Rich today for 20 minutes and we had a great conversation. I talked to Steve before. Well, Steve talked. I listened for 45 minutes and it was great. And like little stuff happens. Steve goes over to Judson's house for dinner, takes his own bottle of wine home, and that becomes
and he takes it back.
And he takes it back.
A human being does that.
Whoa.
Whoa.
So I would never.
Okay,
But I understood what Steve was doing.
yeah, but you still don't do it.
I
You,
agree.
you do
But
not.
if no one's gonna drink it, why not take it home? Because Steve, I guarantee you, Steve opened it up the second he got home and enjoyed the rest of his night.
True, true, and definitely, but that's just not good manners
But if it was just gonna sit on Judson's counter and get stale and get old,
or aged. Maybe that's what
the,
we're gonna do.
once the wine bottle's open, though, does it really age or does it just get flat and gross?
It turns into grape juice, alcoholic grape juice.
It gets more fermented actually and makes you hallucinate.
But no, it's great, man, to be able to even have contact with you guys because I've listened to a lot of sports radio and sometimes, and granted, yeah, of course, you guys are personalities. You guys are the faces of local media, and sometimes that gets taken a little too seriously sometimes. And it's great that across the board, Extra is very open. The personalities are really open and great, genuine people, and you can really tell that apart from other shows and other stations because that's what you guys I can tell you guys care for the people and you know you guys have the backing of a name like Fox, so that is huge. um but you know uh, if you guys were anywhere else, I think I'd still kind of follow because you realize that yeah, your time usually constrained to the time that you're available to listen to podcast or radio show, especially live. Now with podcasts, you can do a little bit differently. But it's there's something for everybody, and I like that Darren's on there now, selfishly, because now you guys have some soccer flair on the station.
Hmm,
That's yeah, that desperately needed, especially with World Cups coming up, and um,
maybe.
maybe, yeah, maybe. Hopefully. But it's just a great balance. And as a listener, just thank you guys for staying on and entertaining us throughout because you guys are people too. You guys should be in isolation, but yet you guys are entertaining us on the air every morning, every day, and that's something that it's invaluable in times like these because a lot of people are just going through tough times and just being able to put a smile on at least one person is something that I'm pretty sure you guys don't take for granted, and that's awesome.
That's really the whole goal of it. We're not trying to we're not doing super heavy hitting stuff. We talk about COVID as much as we have to. I think the three of us would prefer not to,
Yeah.
but it's kind of our reality now. And yeah, like you said, we're just really trying to make people happy every day. We're
So
the ultimate people pleasers.
yeah, and obviously we're all stuck in this situation that nobody wants to be in. But how have you been handling those sports just on a personal level, not necessarily just a job wise because it just happens to be your job, but how are you dealing with just the lack of any type of action?
It's not fun. I'll be honest. Luckily, I still have an outlet. Like I am still going to work every day,
Mhm.
and my lifestyle. I mean, other than watching hours of sports at night, hasn't changed too much. But just the fact that we're not able, like, I would love to be watching a Padres game tonight. I don't like they'd be a couple weeks into their season. I would love to be watching Fernando Tatis Jr. be firing 94-mile-an-hour fastballs at a first baseman and tagging up on a pop up in the infield. But it's a little weird. It does feel like someone is missing. Like it feels like a friend that I've had forever is not there right now. And I've been watching a ton of ESPN Classic. I've been watching some NFL games from last year, trying to get ready for this year, like making any excuse I can. But I have caught up on TV,
Yeah.
which is really nice.
What are we watching?
I've watched a lot of movies, and I've gotten really good at Madden. I'm thinking about actually buying FIFA
Okay. And you
because
have a
it's on
PS4 or Xbox?
PS4.
Good choice.
I know.
So you get on the FIFA. Have you played it
Well,
before?
it's cheap right now. It's like $20.
Hell yeah. And yeah, because it usually comes out in September. This is where it usually just starts to die down. So FIFA 21 will come out in September-ish. But no, yeah, it's super fun. I know a lot of people that don't like soccer. That they do not like the sport, but like FIFA and like playing it.
Oh,
Uh,
dude, Drunk nights in college playing FIFA are some of my favorite memories.
Oh,
We had a little group of like 4 rooms in our dorm, and there was FIFA tournaments going on at all times in one of the rooms. And so that would be like if 6 of us were out doing whatever we were doing and we would come back, that'd be the first place we go. But it's what are you watching right now, man? TV wise.
what am I watching? I don't necessarily watch a lot of TV other than sports. I do consume a lot of podcasts. So I'm more of a stand-up guy. I love stand-up, and a couple stand-ups came out: Tom Segura, Bert Kreischer, Chris D'Elia, and then um, and then I just get into like this little like weird spots where I don't know if you know what the show Top Gear is.
Yeah, the cars.
Yeah, Cars. So I love that show. I love that show, and I've seen every single episode. So now I'm just kind of surprising myself wherever YouTube leads me. So like one part, 10-minute part of an episode on supercars, and then the next recommended will be like they make an ambulance. Sure, just go and then just go down the rabbit hole of what their challenges were, and just I don't have Amazon, so I know they have a new show, the Grand Tour, but that's awesome. But other than that, man, I've just been I'm still technically working. I do work after school program through a 4-letter organization that starts with a Y.
And you do the.
Actually, I don't think they look very fondly upon that song. I don't know if you knew that,
Oh wow, I did not know that.
because it is a Christian organization, and some of the themes perhaps that are associated with that song aren't very aligned. Let's just
I
say,
just know the letters.
yeah, same. But no, so I mean, I still have a little bit of work, but other than that, honestly, like there's been a lot of phone staring, and my dog is just tired of me at this point. Like, what are you doing here? Like, go work, go do something. Like, this is too much. Um, but yeah, I'm just waiting for that Jordan, and been watching a lot of virtual FIFA because that we did the little tournament, and we have another one going on right now. And
I was so pissed I lost.
yeah, no, Ronaldo had nothing to do
I've
with.
never been more invested in a game that had zero meaning
Yeah,
and was so fake. And I've never cared more about that 90 minutes, whatever it was shortened down to. But I was not happy.
yeah, no, and Jim Russell made it farther than you. I don't know if you knew that.
That makes me more unhappy. I thought I had a good team.
I thought you had one of the best teams. I think thought you had a chance, and your team in this tournament is actually doing better. And
Of course they are.
the quarterfinals, hey, it just happens that way. But um, I mean, other than a podcast, McAfee. I like McAfee. You like McAfee?
The like ESPN guy?
Pat McAfee.
Yeah, the punter, old
Yeah,
punter.
yeah,
His show's fun. They put up like I don't know how he does a show where he's kicked back all the way in a tank top and just relaxing. Because I sweat every morning during our show because we're doing so much. But he's always good for 1 or 2 viral clips. I like him better as a game analyst.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know that I necessarily love his show. I like his show. I don't get to listen to it very much, but I think he would actually be with all these openings popping up for color analysts. I think he would be a good one for Fox to come in and swoop up to replace Charles Davis. He'd be on my short list, honestly.
Would you throw him into Monday nights?
As the third guy, maybe. Yeah, honestly, he'd be a good color analyst for that. I just want that job to be reserved for Bub for when Bub's done with the league.
Yes, yes.
I think he was built for that. I almost would have rather seen him go do that than the Colts, but I don't know. I guess I'm kind of a pseudo Colts fan now.
I think we all are here in San Diego. Especially, you can't convince me that Nick didn't go to Indianapolis, and it
Well,
wasn't.
I can, because I mean, I think Nick was already planning the move before anything was confirmed with Philip. I know that that's part of it, but I also know like Nick was going there to take care of his parents,
Yeah.
and then the Philip thing is kind of a nice sidebar. And he was telling me the other day that he's offered to be Phil's driver, he's offered to be his trainer, he's offered like for Phil to live with him, he's offered like it's all this stuff, but it's so cool that relationship that those two have, and that when Nick is not telling us something, Nick knows something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, of course that's part of their best friends, you know. But I know that the primary reason Nick went was because his parents. I know his mom's not doing too great, so and that's where he's from. He wanted to be back home. He wanted his kids to grow up like he grew up.
Yeah, and I've kept up with them on social media, and they look happy as can be, and I'm glad that they got to do that. Um, I would have loved to live in the Midwest as a kid. Hell, I think you get to play with more sticks and rocks over there than you would here.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, or you could have grown up in Merced, and then fun things to do there involve donuts, shooting guns, throwing rocks into lakes.
what's the most Merced part about you?
I flipped a car,
Really, what kind of car?
a little tiny Suzuki Sport.
Why are you
And
messing with Suzuki's?
that was my car in high school. It was my grandpa's car. He gave it to me, and we had like 2 hours. Like we were gonna go see a movie or something. I'm telling like there's nothing to do in Merced. You can go see movies, and you can have a bonfire. But I
What are they going to do now? They're no one can have
my parents still live there. I don't. They're happy. They're chilling. My mom's retired, so she's just in her backyard all the time, anyways. But yeah, and so we had like 2 hours to kill before we were gonna go see a movie. I think we were gonna go to see a Fast and the Furious movie, and so we were like, all right, let's go do donuts. Like, what else are you gonna do in Merced? And so the field we picked was not good for donuts, and I yanked it really hard one time and totally just I flipped the car, and I've been too scared to do anything like that ever since.
I think that's a good thing then. That's a good
Yeah,
thing.
probably. And yeah, my kids will know about donuts and that they're bad,
Um,
not just the eating kind.
yeah, no, I think those are worse.
Yeah, but they're so good.
Oh God, what's the favorite one?
Favorite donut? I like the old devil's food, old fashioned devil's food cake.
Mm.
You know, they have the little ridges on it.
Were you on team apple fritter?
No, I don't even like them. I don't know how this became a thing that Costa started bringing in apple fritter. I think he's the only one that likes them. I honestly don't think Judd and I have ever taken more than 1 or 2 bites out of them. Like Costa inhales his, he loves them, and they're not good to me. They're not a donut, first of all, and they do not taste good. I'm sorry, you can't convince me they do.
Eh,
I'm
I
sure a nice homemade baked one that had fresh, juicy apples in it would be delicious. But the ones he gets are like 7-Eleven ones that are just flaky and dry, and they're not good.
again, I love the image of Costa rolling up to his Maserati to the worst 7-Eleven and just picking up like discount donuts. Just hey, just give me whatever was left from yesterday.
And
Uh,
you know what? That's exactly what he does. He also will roll up to Jack in the Box at any point of the day and get tacos. That's kind of his go-to, other than tacos au gourd, though. But
which we still have to go to when this is all over. You like them?
dude, they're amazing. I've heard it's nothing compared to what you can get in Tijuana.
Oh no, yeah, you can get uh, what tacos gordo, what you got there. You can get that literally in any corner taco shop. You know what the best taco shops are? You have to have you can't have a shop. First of all, has to be from a cart. You have to have a guy who's making the tacos who has a nickname like Güero or I don't know, like Toothless Joe or something. You have to have a dog, a street dog next to it, and there has to be absolutely no standing room anywhere near it. So you have to park 3 blocks away. That's the best shop.
We had a rule in Merced that we weren't allowed to go into Mexican restaurants. We could only go to taco trucks,
Mm.
and you had to order in Spanish because they'd give you a bigger burrito. And you had to like kind of make nice with the people. You had to like joke around a little bit.
Yeah,
Otherwise, they were going to give you the stuff that they made 20 minutes ago and not the stuff that they were going to make right there.
yeah.
And honestly, people are going to get mad about this. I think Merced had better Mexican food than San Diego does.
Okay. You remember when I told everybody I broke the story of Will Myers playing Fortnite and talking shit about Andy Green?
Yes.
It wasn't that started my dislike for Will Myers. It's the fact that he stated right before his home All-Star game here in San Diego that he liked East Coast wet Mexican food or not San Diego Mexican food better. And that broke me to this day. I don't understand how he's even allowed to be in this city when you say something like that.
I agree with that. And I will say, tacos El Gordo aside, maybe I have not gone to the right places other than that.
Mhm.
But the dirty, kind of gross burritos I had in Merced, maybe it was because it was part of my childhood,
Yeah.
made me happier than the burritos I've had here.
Okay. I need to take you.
But yeah, maybe I just haven't gone to the right place.
So do you go tacos or burritos though? Like what's the
Well, tacos El Gordo, I get tacos at Tacos El Gordo.
Yeah. Okay. You've never been to TJ?
Tijuana?
Yeah.
No.
I like how you didn't automatically know what
Well, I
TJ.
want to make sure. Like, I didn't know TJ's was a taco shop here. Like,
True. So you've never been to Tijuana then?
no, I have not.
Do you have a passport?
I do.
Okay. When this is all over, me and my girl are driving you and your girl down there, and they're watching us just consume and just make a taco man very rich.
I'm very down.
Yeah, no, it's
I've heard beer is really cheap also in Tijuana.
yes, not as good. Not as good. I will say it's different. You, if I was to present the 394, my parents, they would just spit it out and fuck it. Like they like their natty lights like version of beer down there, and that's all they drink. Um, but no, definitely we got to head down there. I actually had an interview with a couple of SD loyal soccer players too that are from Britain. Like one was from Britain and he was never been there. He's like, I'll take you. So I might just rent a huge caravan and just haul everybody down there.
Yeah, it sounds good. I'm in. I always like good food. I like hunting for good food.
Out,
The one thing that's going to keep me in San Diego forever, though, is the beer.
yeah, yeah,
Like, goodness gracious. I did not know what beer was till I got here. And I like, my dad is big into IPAs and stuff, and he was real early on Pliny the Elder. But like, I got down here, and every corner has an awesome brewery that's tiny and makes beer better than the corner before.
yeah.
And I can't really imagine living somewhere that people drink as much as I love Coors Light. People just drink that and think it's good beer. Like,
Mhm.
what did I have the other day? I had the Belching Beaver Mosaic IPA,
Yes,
and it knocked my socks off. And
yes.
now I can't wait for this to be done so I can go to Belching Beaver and get one out of the tap.
There was have you ever had their Belgian the peanut butter one?
Yeah, I have. Someone got it for me as a birthday present, actually.
Yes, that one. Have you ever been down to the donut bar?
No.
So they actually have the bar of donuts, but they also have Belching Beaver peanut butter stout right out the tap, super cold, paired with the donut. Oh my Jesus!
You
It
did?
some do, but it's frowned upon a little bit. But just a bite here, sip. It's ecstasy. It's
This is making me want beer.
yeah. I would throw you one virtually right now, but um, I'll leave one. I'll leave one outside. I know where you live.
Yeah, sounds good. You can just kind of chuck one at my window.
Stone Cold Steve Austin and just catch it, just clank them together.
Yep, sounds good to me.
So I have this board, right? We ended up getting by chance the same board that Judd has and Darren has, the Road Caster.
Mm-hmm.
This thing is a goddamn Ferrari. This is amazing. I don't know if you seen it? Have you interacted with it?
Yeah, I had to mess around with them a little bit before we started sending everyone home with them.
Yeah.
What do you like about it?
The fact that it's idiot proof and I can I've just we had the Yamaha MX, which is like has all these knobs, and I read the entire manual. Sorry, I have my sister. But no, like it was very the one that's on the couch, the blue one. It was just all these like knobs. I'm like, what does this do? What does that do? Like, I don't even know if my voice sounds good. So I was just like, this is the one that we had before, and so
No.
super serviceable. Again, it worked like a charm, but this just works great and it's easy. But I have these buttons, right? you're like a master of drops, obviously, because you're a producer on a radio show. You have to be on top of it and just isolate sound and stuff. What's a tip? Because I've been very hesitant to use these because you don't want to overdo it.
Yeah.
What's how do you navigate the use of just audio gold and just at the right place?
So, I mean, you've seen our studio. So I have one of those, but it's up on a computer screen. So I have a little clicker that I can go up to it, and I play a lot of my stuff directly on Audition. But your first thing was really good. Don't overuse them. And the second thing, they got to come from your show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like our best drops are stuff that people on interviews say or listeners say, like or Costa says. Like we have obviously before the Maserati one that's funny. The Dick Donkey one that's Judson's actual voice. And then like stuff like we had that one caller Ryan who used to call it a bunch, and I don't know where the hell he is now, but he was the one that was like, "Let's go," and you could tell he was like on his motorcycle, and so it was kind of like, "Oh, I'm done with this," and then. But yeah, it's got to come from stuff that you share with your listeners. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's gonna be like if I said something dumb in here off the cuff, I don't know, and you could isolate that and load that up, and then you can hit it. Like right now, we're using the one a lot. That's the Randy Jones. No, I don't like
Oh yeah,
that. And so, like that was something that came from a really great interview we did with Randy Jones, and it was like one of the first things he said. And it's kind of you get a feel for it. Like I heard that, and I was like, oh, I want this for as soon as this interview is over. Judson's gonna say something, and I'm just gonna throw it
yeah.
in. And it's a little harder right now because Judd is on like a half-second delay.
Yeah, I can tell. And it's
So
hilarious. It's hilarious.
it's super frustrating.
Has to
But
come
because
on.
I'll play something and I'll think that he's reacting to it right away, but he keeps talking for like 2 seconds. Then he goes, but it's not as funny because the timing's off. So I don't know. Timing's a big part of it. And like I've learned better now, but when I was first starting, I'd try to like crowbar them in after I thought of them.
Mhm.
And that doesn't work as well. You really just, if you think of it and hit it, like that's the best way to do it. But I would, the biggest piece of advice, it's got to be something that is like meaningful to your show.
Okay.
Like I don't like if your co-host says something, he seems like a funny kind of off the cuff guy, just from what I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
If he has some sort of drop or something that he says, and you could
Yeah.
throw that in,
He
then
usually just breathes loudly, and so when I just do hear that, I just drop the Darth Vader just breathing and just
I should
little
start
things.
doing that with Costa. Freaking Costa, man. During interviews, it's like,
I since I started this, I started picking up on that, and
okay, it's
those little.
super annoying. It is my biggest pet peeve. Anything in our show, that's the one thing that makes me mad. I don't get angry because, like, I don't know. Judson's thing is he's horrible with the clock. He'll always go long on segments.
Mhm.
Costa is very punctual in that sense, actually. I think he just can't wait to get to commercial break. And so, but Costa, his thing is during interviews, and today he was doing it, and I started turning off his mic, but then he gets mad and turns it back on, and then he's right back up on the mic, breathing into it. I'm like, dude, people can hear you and only you. They're not listening to the guest anymore. They're listening to you breathe. And so like it's something we need to work on. A drop probably isn't the best because we'll have listeners on. They'll be like, what was that? Was that Darth Vader? But yeah, it's stuff like that. Like when you think about it, right now you and me are on video, but in the mornings, the only thing that's coming out is what's coming out of the speakers.
Yeah, yeah.
So no one's understanding, oh, Costa's leaning on the mic because he's really listening hard and he doesn't know what he's doing and he can't hear himself breathe. People just think he's like a dog going.
No, yeah,
I hope he sees this. Love you, Mike.
and I like I said, I picked up a little bit on that just because I just editing sound here and just picking up those things. What is that sound? Like the first time I heard, like I can't figure it out. The levels are moving, but what? And I just stayed quiet. I'm like, your mic's on, your levels are moving. Oh God,
Did you just fart?
it's a health concern at this point. Uh, Well, but yeah, and then like again, those little delays that obviously it's because of the distance and whatnot. But as somebody who listens, and a student of the game, I just love those little things where, huh, like it's not like they messed up. It's like, huh, they messed up a little bit. I like it. Like it's a little bit rock and roll. Like Foo Fighters is my favorite band, and Dave Grohl usually says like, "That's the best music, like the imperfect music. Like it's not supposed to sound perfect, not supposed to sound like the record. It's those little mistakes that make it special." And I love picking up on those little things. And I know it's to your annoyance probably, but
Well,
uh,
it's almost like it throws it off track a little bit, and then the main idea is gone, and now everyone, at least me, I'm thinking about, oh my god, he was like a half second behind on that. Costa started talking in the middle of his thought. Uh, but in reality, like when I go back and listen to it on the podcast, it's not that bad.
yeah,
Like it sounds like the Grand Canyon to me. It sounds like that big of a break, but then you listen back to it and you're like, oh, it's not that bad. And oh, it is kind of funny. I know it's funny that Costa's getting frustrated with it, and so it kind of makes it all better. But the biggest thing that Judson always said, it's never as bad as you think it is, but it's also not as good as you think it is. Like when something's really rolling,
yeah,
like Statman comes to mind for me
oof,
because I think it's horrible.
yeah.
Judd thinks it's gold. Costa's kind of in the middle.
You know,
Our
and
boss refuses to comment.
I'm sorry. I came around to it. I was out, I'm always, supportive of your guys' actions. I took the time to I don't do Photoshop. Like I I just Microsoft painted the words
You nailed it.
and at the end I was just like, why did I work so hard on this? Like it's not even like I know for a fact, like I just knew it. Like I knew in the back of my mind, like this is gonna last like two, 3 segments, days, weeks, maybe. And I'm like, you know what? It's fine. It's already made. It's great. But no, yeah, like I could totally see that. Just some things work and some things just fall flat on their face.
I will say the longer this quarantine goes on, the better it makes Statman look.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, hey, bring him back. I
And he
mean,
might be coming back.
I don't know what stats he would bring up. There's
The
nothing.
one idea we had was he would do different stats about like he would come up with it would be a different disease. It'd be like the numbers for herpes or something.
Jeez.
He would apply it to COVID.
uh,
So like I don't know if that's funny or if that's really insensitive.
hmm.
But it's like you kind of just throw darts at a board and see what sticks, and like half the stuff we think of never makes it to the air.
Yeah.
But it's important that we think of like the worst possible thing we could do and then march it back a little bit.
So with show building, I know you guys usually go in at 4 a.m. for the 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. How early do you guys get?
So Costa gets in earlier than everyone.
Mhm.
Judson and I do a lot of the work for the show the night before, like a lot of our prep. Costa is just a little different. He likes to do it before the show, and I think that comes from he spent so long in the afternoon,
Mhm.
so he feels a little more comfortable. Like he kind of thinks that if he goes to sleep on something, it might not be as fresh in the morning, which is fair. So Costa gets in about 4. I get in from 4:15 to 4:30, anywhere in there, and that's when for pretty much an hour and a half, all I'm doing is finding audio, kind of talking to Judson, making sure he's connected, sort of building out the show a little more. Because like, yeah, you can put stuff into a rundown, but really it's you got to see if it works by having a conversation,
Mhm.
a little test almost.
Yeah.
And so, like, really the 30 minutes after Judd connects, which he connects right at 5 a.m. Those 30 minutes, all three of us are talking, and we try to do the whole show like just plan out, okay, where could this conversation go, where could this conversation go, how do we tilt this topic to where it's not just saying what happened.
Mhm.
And that's honestly my favorite part of the day is those 30 minutes when we're really just trying to see what's going to work, what's not going to work, and then like stuff makes it that's not going to work and we have to pivot, whatever. But that's what I've learned the most with not having Nick is
Mhm.
we have to be so much more proactive with building stuff out. Because Nick, you put a microphone in front of him, he can just go.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how he does it, but he can go on any topic, doesn't matter what, and something interesting will come out. But the three of us, like Judd is super, super smart. God, I don't know how his brain works, where he can just he's really good at twisting the topic. Costa's really good at adding the fireworks and making it funny.
Mhm.
But it's really important that all three of us kind of can come together and figure out what we're trying to make come across.
Yeah.
And quarantine's made that so much harder. But we're trying the best we can.
No, and like I said, it's still, I think it's still a great product, and you guys still got me listening, and not a lot of people are on the airwaves just trying the same things, but it's not working. But when you have something just so organic and good, because again, you can have something organic, but it's just not good at all. And what you guys have going is, I think, really special. And you know, call me a fanboy, what you will, but at the end of the day, it's seeing how much the people that listen enjoy what you're doing. That's like, that's good. I wish I can do that, and that's what this project is. A little bit, just a little bit selfish for us. We're trying to get press passes, and we got some. I don't know how the hell we got in with some of the people that we got in with. And again, it's just going out, and I think it's even harder with you guys have, because it's like I said, 3 hours, and you guys have time constraints, something that we don't. Like, not just the fact that I can swear, I can do whatever I want, it's going to go on YouTube. You guys have that constraint. You guys have um I know, like, in the first hour or in the first segment, you guys have to throw in a sponsor. By the way, this segment is sponsored by this. Just like shoehorn it in, because sometimes you forget, you get.
Mm-hmm.
And that in itself is just uh something that I don't have to worry about. My podcast can be an hour. Usually it's an hour, and then that's it. We talk about what happened in the week. Great, fantastic. But you guys constantly, over and over, daily, and it's amazing what you guys have accomplished. And what is it, like a month now? I don't even know what day it is today.
Yeah, me neither. I think March 15th was where the screws really came loose
Yeah.
and everything sort of went to, yeah, so about a month exactly. But it's been easier than I thought it would be. Like the first day where we were talking about, oh my, like the reality is we're not going to have sports.
Yeah.
I think all three of us had a little panic.
Yeah.
And we're like, what? Like, are we going to get kicked off the air? Like, are we not going to be able to come into work? Like, what's going to happen? And then it was really just our boss talked to us and he was like, look, we're staying on. It's important that we're on. We got to work harder on show development. We got to work harder on kind of finding stuff to keep it happy, keep it light while still reporting the news.
Yeah.
Because it was a real conversation at one point that we would not have our live programming and we would carry everything from Kogo. And I hope that doesn't happen, but it's like, we're really grateful to still be working.
No, definitely. And I'm grateful that you guys are still working. A lot of people are, I know for a fact, that really need something to look forward to. And if that's listening to you guys in the morning, then so be it. And I really appreciate everything you guys do. Um, but yeah, hopefully this can end, because I'm tired of it. Like, I'm tired of watching virtual sports. I'm tired of not hearing crowds. We covered You guys also covered the was a Japanese home run that happened today. Like, what are we doing here? Like,
Honestly, I'm ready. Bring on sports with no fans. I'm fine with it.
yeah, no, yeah, because
Like
I'm used to it. The
we need something.
Yeah, Mexican soccer usually does it. It's not for the same reasons. It's usually because fans beat the shit out of each other in the stands, and to punish the teams, they're like, okay, no fans. So that's something I'm used to, and it's fascinating to in a sense, because you get to hear everybody say stuff and say this. I watched WrestleMania with nobody there, and it was weird, because the wrestlers communicate, hey, I'm gonna take a suplex here, okay, but you can see them say it, and you can even hear them. And
Yeah.
and that in itself is interesting, just breaking it down that way. But yeah, I need sports bad.
So
Mhm,
I have a little armchair theory that the reason ESPN is running the Michael Jordan doc uncensored,
mhm.
and they're gonna allow, like, I think they're gonna have to have warnings, like whatever FX does, because apparently FX you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to have warnings, whatever. But I think that ESPN is getting ready for live sports with players mic'd up, that you're gonna hear everything because there's no crowd noise to block it.
Yeah.
So I hope that that's the case. I would love to hear what's actually going on in an NBA game in the finals. Like, I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm totally ready for sports with no fans.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
Or
I just want to watch.
if not the players, just hook up the refs. I would love to hear what the refs have to say when they screw up a play and they huddle up, and then they go
Mm.
watch the replay and still mess it up. Like it's fascinating, and
I think you might not even need mics. I think those cameras are so good at pointed audio. Like, if you have cameras on the sidelines of an NBA game, first of all, we'll get cameras angles we've never had before because they have more opportunity with no fans there.
yeah,
And I do think that it would be really interesting to be able to hear every single word coming out of a player's mouth during a game. What's Draymond actually saying to LeBron when they start shoving each other? Like, people are going to have to be really careful. Like, I'm sure there's some very non-PC stuff going on in those games.
I think
But I want sports.
yeah, same man. I think the thing that would maybe challenge that is, obviously you got to tell people, hey, there's certain words like yeah, you're gonna cuss, but even then there's certain racially charged words, even if it's with your homies, that you can't use because if one of those is on the uncensored version, there's going to be issues. But I would love for that to happen. But yeah, so I think we're going to go ahead and I'll leave it to you right there. Really appreciate you coming on, man. And I hope to have you here. I had the chair ready for any guest in my garage. Hope to have you here in person with the mic and just have you on the podcast real soon, man. Thank you for what you're doing. Tell the boys over there that I tell them all the time. I really appreciate what they do, and it's not easy. And keep at it, man, because a lot of people need it, including myself. Um, love you having you on the airways. And how's my driving, by the way? Again, I've never done anything like this.
Yeah, you did. You did great.
Cool.
What, hour and a half has gone by? Doesn't feel like it.
So I like to hear. All
Well
right.
done, sir.
We appreciate it. Tell people where you can find you.
Extra 1360, 6 to 9 a.m. every morning, Monday through Friday. And then on Twitter, I'm at Fletch Sports. Follow it.
I was there. I was one of your first followers when you had single digit followers, and look at you now. Got triple digits.
Almost to 300.
There we go. All right, man. I really appreciate it. And check out Extra 1360, Fox Sports San Diego on iHeartRadio. I know this by memory. I can recite all your guys' commercials and the things you guys have to say. So
Yeah, go over to Granger.
yeah. Oh yeah. People, they know how to do. Yep.
Granger.
Really appreciate it.
Have a great day.
Thank you, man. Later. So that was that.